Good evening, everybody. Got a frozen camera here, but the microphone's working. Give us half a second. We'll reset this thing for tonight. There we go. As good as new. Welcome to Masterworks. My name is Jason Meyer. If this is your first time here, welcome, welcome. Tonight we're going to look at some drawings by Leonardo da Vinci. So Katie made it tonight. Katie, glad you can join us. Glad we get to go on with the show. We had a little technical difficulties this morning and almost one this afternoon. There's Miss Cindy Meyer. Make sure the whole show's always running. So what do you guys say? Should we look at some drawings from Leonardo? So I'd like to focus in on two things today. And they're not necessarily mutually exclusive. But one, you can feel his curiosity in the drawings. You're going to feel his actual interest, right? And then the other thing is, besides curiosity, there's the movement and the structure. So let's keep those things in mind as we head over to the drawings. So as always, I think it's important for you to use your own eyes and just give it a good look before we talk about it. This feels like a moving scene, doesn't it? Yet there's still enough structure there that if that horse is coming down with that guy on the sword, that's gonna hurt. It looks like that horse weighs a little bit. But at the same time, that horse isn't stagnant or doesn't look like a model. It's full on movement. Let's see. Good evening, Susan. Miss Wendy, hello. Tonight we're looking at Leonardo da Vinci. We're going to look at some of Leonardo's drawings tonight. And we're going to focus in on, one, just his curiosity. Sometimes we can start trying to analyze everything. How did he? Well, a lot of it was just general interest. He needed to know. He wanted to figure it out. He is curious. And it's obvious to me that there was something beyond a stagnant perfection. Right? And that's where that movement is coming in. So where does that movement come from? You notice there's not a single line. There's multiple lines happening. Look, he's even drawn multiple legs and foots here. Out of two limbs here, then split to two more, split to two more. And what's going on back here with all of this? So that's what causes the movement, yet he's got enough solidity here and there to make this thing seem strong. Strong. But more than trying to analyze his technique, because as we go through, you're going to see that he drew and painted like every which way. There wasn't necessarily a single technique he used. But there's a feeling, there's an activity, right? Expecting a little bit more from the drawings. Right, again, not perfection. At Sketch Club, we always kid around with Izzy with these invented, well, we thought they were invented animals. But look at what that thing looks like on the bottom. But again, he's more interested in that movement and what does that look like? It looks like that thing's ready to lunge, right? And the potential energy. And then the one above, it's all stretched out, going full gallop. If you know what you're doing, that looks like that could be fun. Right? Again, we have structure and movement. How do you think you got that horse to pose like that? No, 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 no. He's painting from his understanding, right? From his imagination. But not just purely from the imagination, right? It's almost like he's combining his imagination with his eyes, with his curiosity, with his seeking. But again, it's not just a bunch of wild lines. There's enough structure. Like, I would not want to get kicked by that guy. If he kicked you, that's going to hurt. How do I know? Well, look at those muscles. Look at that meat back there, man. Ouch. Ouch. He even makes statues move. What? Is that legal? Is that possible? Sometimes as we approach and we start our own drawing practice, our painting practice, we're so worried about getting things quote unquote right, thinking there's a certain edge and it's this far and it's this shape. It usually takes some time, but eventually the insight comes that, maybe movement's a better subject than a thing, than an object. Right? As I'm drawing objects, it's like I'm sucking the life out of everything. But when I change my concept, my subject matter to movement, then I find I'm making different marks. I'm solving different problems. It's a subtle little shift there, but with huge, huge results. Huge changes. So horses, quadrupeds, to cascading fabric. Right? Even a drawing of the fabric feels alive. Right? Again, this is completely different than the other things we were looking about, but you still feel the curiosity, don't you? Right? He's asking questions rather than giving answers. I mean, he's giving answers too, but the questions. Is this somewhat like we use? Do we use a dark number 4 value? Do you see that in there? And do we see a gray value? Yeah. And then kind of the tone of the paper. And some white chalk maybe. Huh. So if he can do it with 4 values, why can't we do it with 4 values? So this wasn't done by copying something. This is designed. Right? So a lot of his sketches, he's looking for movements, for connections, for designs. Connections? What do you mean connections? Well, do you see the patterns in here? What happens here? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? So we go fast, and then we're slowed down. And then we're going to go fast, and then we're slowed down. But is that one continuous rhythm? Oh, wait, what? Leonardo, what did you just do? That's almost like an M.C. Escher architecture, isn't it? Do you see that? Just almost beautiful, beautiful, beautifully designed patterns. He doesn't have more sophisticated tools than we do. He's not using more values than we do. All right. In other words, we're going to be expecting a little more out of you guys. Again, something handled completely different than everything else we've seen before. But not only is there movement here, there's definite mood, emotion. Right? Enough structure for there to be a physical being there. And yet there is an emotional energy too. Maybe even a spiritual energy. And yet it's still moving. You see the life that movement, that lack of quote unquote definition, like this goes here, this starts here, this ends here. There's more lines suggesting movement than the beginning or ending of anything. And the hair feels different than the skin, which feels different than the background. I mean, is it just me, or like I can feel, it seems like I feel his curiosity. Right? Like this doesn't feel like something you're doing to complete a task here. This feels like a deeper motive. And peaceful prayer, communion to ancient wisdom. Right? Again, we have weight, structure, movement. It's almost like the incompleteness helps bring it to life. Is that possible? Is something that's not so well defined more alive? And if so, how much definition versus how much non-definition do you need? And just exactly how do you get from definition to non-definition? What's that walk look like? Okay, so we offer sketch clubs, and yeah, we're just messing around. But when we're just messing around, let's be aware of what's possible. Right? Can we shoot for a little bit more? Can our marks be a little more effective, a little more efficient, a little more orchestrated? Does it look like that guy's singing the baby to sleep? No. How can you get so much from a few values? What can you do with a few values? Right? Because this emotion, these facial gestures, they've got to be resolved into value shapes. Again, this doesn't feel like an assignment to me. Right? He was generally interested, I think. I mean, I'm just guessing. I don't know. Wow. Wow. Do you have that much range in your work? Right? This is definitely something much different than was that last one. A different mood, a different person, a different emotional space, spiritual space. How much definition do you need? And it's tricky. Because if they do it well, you can think that it's all really well defined. You don't even notice the undefinition. But I'm asking you, look. Is there a line around that face? Does it go all the way around the face? Where does it stop and start? Is it a single line or is it multiple lines? Is it really a line or is it a tone? Again, with seemingly a few little wiggles or jiggles, there's hair. And yet it definitely feels of a different character than the skin. Right? How much can we ask from our marks? What's fair? What's fair? How much definition of the hair do you need? Like, that's a really nice face, but if we isolated that face and took the hair and those other marks out, I think it's lacking so much. Right? It may be hard for you to imagine, but again, it's hard to overstate what those simple dark marks bring to this. We were talking about walking off of our shadows. Can you think about those dark marks indicating some of the hair as maybe walking off those solid darks of the eyes, under the nose, around the mouth? Does it seem kind of like an echo or like a glow of those darks? A letting go? It does to me. It does to me. I mean, we've got to kick this guy out. This is not allowed. Look at that. The whole scene is alive. How is that possible? What, he's drawn the commotion the commotion of a young child. With the care and patience and love of a mother. That's why this drawing's so spectacular. Right? Do you see both of the grace, the love, the patience of the mother, and the complete commotion of the child? All with a few values. I mean, come on. But you know what? If Leonardo can do it, we can do it too. So we're going to end the evening on this one. We'll leave you on this one for you to contemplate Mr. Leonardo da Vinci. And again, we were looking at the feeling that, like, he's generally curious about this stuff. He's really investigating it. And I don't know, I mean, this doesn't seem like he's investigating this for a client to me. It seems like he's investigating this because he needs to know. He wants to understand. You know, I don't know. Is that too much? I've looked at a lot of art. And there's a difference between when the art is alive. Right? When they're portraying more than just objects. They're tapping into the secret abstract rhythms of nature and of man, of the universe. And they're not portraying it as separate from us. But they're portraying it as we're part of those rhythms. We're made of those rhythms. We're participating in those rhythms. Again, so is the subject matter really an old man contemplating? Or is it so much more than that? So the next time you've got a paintbrush, a pen, a pencil, charcoal in your hand, ask yourself, what am I drawing? What is my subject matter? Could I try to portray something bigger, something more? Right? And encompassing whatever the subject matter is. Anyway, just a little thought. I mean, this guy's thinking about it. He's thinking about it hard. So maybe we can carry it a little lighter than that. And as we sketch and paint, again, we're just exposing ourselves to these master works to know what's possible. Right? To know what's possible so that we can recognize when we've got things and when we don't. What is the feeling of movement versus the feeling of stagnation? Right? Let's get sensitive about that. Let's stick that in our back pocket. Let's put that in our toolbox. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me tonight. This was a lot of fun. Those drawings I could just go on and on and on about. It's so fun when you get an artist like that. So I hope you had a good time. We'll be back in the morning with some morning jump start, and I'll do my best not to have the technical difficulties that we had today. No promises. And then tomorrow night we'll have some sketch club. So, what are you sketching? What's your subject matter? All right, so think on that. And until then, we'll see you later. Da Vinci's horses are some of my favorite drawings, Susan says. Yeah, hard not to like, hard not to like. You're welcome, Wendy. We'll see you guys later. Good night, everybody.